I just like how familiar with The Simpsons are you?
Oh, pretty familiar.
Yeah.
Not that familiar.
Well, I'll set the scene, right? So there's like, I think it's like Krusty the Clown is trying to like rejuvenate his show. I want to say it's when like the puppet gets his own show and like he loses his audience and he loses the rights to Itchy and Scratchy, and so he gets some weird version of Itchy and Scratchy from like East Germany, right? And it's just like chaos on the screen. And after it finishes, it cuts back to Krusty, lit cigarette hanging out of his mouth, just looking at the screen, and goes, "What the hell was that?" That's what immediately came to mind at like full time on Saturday night.
That's
feel
probably
like
what I look like at full time with a cigarette hanging out of my
Krusty
mouth.
the Clown just going, "What the hell was that?"
Yes. Fair.
What the hell was that?
That was the Saints losing a football game. That's what it was. Again.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong. And look, Anna, thank you for coming back. And for being back. Amber, thank you for being back. I was worried it was just going to be an empty couch, just being like,
we keep getting the games that we lose.
Exactly.
I promise we're positive.
Yeah, I am positive. I have a list of positives when we're ready for it, but let's
yeah, I mean,
let's soak for a bit.
Well, okay. I mean, let's get down to the nitty gritty. I'll just get the actual score up. Okay, so Freo got the chocolates. They got us by 17 points in the end. We kicked a very healthy 8-7 to their 9-18, which, yeah, I mean, watching the match, I reckon I said more than anything on Saturday night, we're lucky they haven't buried us.
Yeah.
Yeah. It could have been over by 3/4 time very comfortably. Yeah.
Definitely.
So, look, I mean, what do we do? Do we start with the positives? Or do we
I don't know.
Or do we come back to them after we've vented our spleen?
I think we should vent.
Let's do that.
Let's vent.
Let's do that.
We have to stop venting.
Let me just get my list.
Here we go. As it rolls out the door.
Yeah. I have two very frustrating things about the game.
Safe space, Anna. Vent your spleen.
Okay. One was the tackle count, which was putrid.
Yeah.
So whoever's calling us a defensive team,
How
we're a defensive
is
team that doesn't
our
tackle.
Let me get the
ruckman
stats.
the highest tackler of the game?
I don't know. So that was problematic, and also tells me that we're not actually focusing so much on defense all the time because we're not really defending. Our pressure wasn't as high as Freo's, and our tackling count, I think at halftime, was more than half of what Freo's was.
Well, I'm looking at this stats here at full time, 84 tackles to 63 in Freo's favour.
Right.
I'm with you. The alarm bells ring very loudly when the team who beat us has more tackles.
Right. And I'm a little bit like, is that because we're afraid to tackle? Because
we just can't stick a tackle.
Because it's just,
I think.
Yeah, but every time we do, feel like it ends up being a free kick or penalty for 3 weeks. Then you have to sit on your ass.
Well, like
so I don't know.
I sort of think it lends itself to the gameplay, right? Because I don't know, like part of the thing watching on Saturday night, I don't know about you guys. Every time there was a turnover that obviously went against us, my automatic default was like they're going to score, like straight away they're going to score. They seem to have so much time and so much space, and it seems to become.
They were set up so well. Even just watching the first half yesterday, they just had a plan.
They were everywhere.
Yeah,
and it's scary when a side seems to have. I think I said a few weeks ago when they seem to have 5-6 more players on the ground than we do. How is it that on transition we look lost?
We do.
There's this game plan of guarding space and guarding grass. I don't understand it because we're getting absolutely chopped up on the turnover, absolutely chopped up. And yeah, like I said, I every time there was a turnover, just watching the game, I was like, they're going to score from this. They're going to score from this.
They
and
punished
felt,
every
felt
time.
that way.
Yeah.
I even
that one.
Sorry,
go ahead.
You
No.
go. You go.
I was just going to say that the other thing that I hated was that we only had 5 marks inside 50 for the entire game.
That's the other thing.
Freo had 4 in just the first quarter.
Yep.
So that is just a summary of our season.
I tell you what, though, I don't necessarily hate that. I mean, it should be more, but I have been a firm believer in that. I feel like the games that we win is the games when we've got multiple different goal scorers and they're all on the run. So I don't hate that, but that wasn't happening.
Yeah,
so,
right. Yeah. The fact that, the vast majority of our goals came from two people, Cheeto, who's been out of form, not ideal. And so I've just drawn a mental blank. It was, who kicked our goals? It was, hang on. We kicked one. I've just literally just drawn a blank. Caminiti, of course.
Yeah.
Of course. Oh my God, I've repressed the game so much already. But when you're looking at those two being, scoring the majority of our goals, you're going, good God. Look, it really, and I swear, unlike other St Kilda supporters, it doesn't bring me any joy to sink the boot into Max King. I'm not going to do it, but that's tough work when, your all-star full forward is not kicking a goal in a game. Granted, Alex Pearce is one of the best defenders in the league and is an absolute mountain, and I think gave Max a bit of a masterclass in terms of
he was hiding him a lot. I'm not one to say that things wasn't, but because where I sit is just sort of like behind the goals, get a pretty good between the point post and the 50-meter mark. So we have a pretty good vision of like the forward
down the ground,
50, and what a lot of people don't see watching at home is what's happening behind the play. And he was just into him, holding him all game. The whole time. But I mean, Max also needs to learn how to get away from that.
Compete to get away from it, or to compete in a way that draws the umpire's attention to the fact that he's being held.
I think he got a free kick from him, and that was the goal that he missed.
Yeah.
He got a point. But I said it last week and I'll say it again, I'm impressed with Max's step up this week. He I think laid, this just spitballing off, I think he laid 3 tackles. He had 9 disposals. So I was happy with his pressure and work a bit more up the ground.
Looked
a lot more into it. I know he's our full forward that needs to be kicking goals, but I tell you what, just with the way we're going, baby steps. I'm happy with the effort.
I'm with you on that. His defensive effort was definitely better.
He was the only one in the forward line. I watched the first half last night that was showing defensive pressure.
I agree with that, and I'm with you. It sort of softens that blow of the scoreboard if you can see him putting the pressure on, and that's what you could definitely see at the ground. Yeah, I'm with you.
Exactly.
It was actually one of my positives was the Max King performance, because I thought he played drastically better at football. And actually, I was going to say, you might like this, Amber, but in his defense, I actually think that because he's concentrating on so many other parts of the game, and because he's running a bit more, this might be why his goal efficiency isn't as great. Because he's a lot more tired. There's a lot more pressure when you're kicking the goal. It's different. It's different than just standing there and waiting.
But
and
I
kicking.
watched him take a mark probably about halfway down the ground, and he had the most elite kick, and I think it could have been to Paddy Dow. And it was just darted straight through the middle. And I was like, I can deal with him not kicking goals, but maybe kicking, say, 1 or 2 for the game.
No doubt.
If Machito, he's drawing the main defender out of the contest, out of the forward 50, and he's doing these amazing things, getting it set up for someone else to do it.
I agree with that.
I dare say he kicked better than our midfield.
Oh, our midfield.
I dare say.
Honestly, rewatching it yesterday and the first half only, because that's all I know. I was like,
We were leading though at the half.
Yeah, but I was watching it and really not being Delulu because I knew the outcome. But Windy and Jack Steele in the contest were the only 2 that were actually going in. I watched Philippou in I think about 4 different contests just fluff about and jump around. And in a few of the contests, we had more St Kilda players in it, and Freo still got out of it because the 2 out of the 5 St Kilda players that were in it, only 2 of them were actually doing anything.
Yeah.
And then it was straight out, and as you said before, it was a goal.
This is the thing, right? I think if we're looking at the gaps in our list at the minute, it's the people saying, we just want to throw money at human cluggage. I think we need an absolute bull in the midfield where we're really missing Crouch.
Yeah.
that
we really are.
that inside
He's my
mid
in
who
this
can,
week. I made a list of ins and outs.
nice, straight in.
I think he's
But
in.
him and, Hunter Clark, who's got no fear, who will just throw himself at the ball. Yeah, we're really missing the support for Steely and the support for Windy to get that inside ball out. And again, I love the Saints. I don't like laying into players, but I don't know. This week coming off this loss, it's really hard to defend being a St Kilda supporter this week. And that's what it sort of gives me the shits a little bit because I'm like, the people want to lay into us. They're right at the minute. Someone like Zach Jones, like, my gosh, he's got all of the capabilities of being that absolute brute. And he just...
I feel like at this stage he's oh my gosh, this stage of his career, I feel like he's one of those players, and I'm like you, I don't like bashing the players, but too good for VFL, not good enough for AFL.
I couldn't agree more.
This was my controversial opinion
Go
that
for
I was
it.
going to come with.
Yes.
So it's time.
It's time.
I actually feel that I know that we're disappointed with the whole performance of the game, but we were leading the game. I think we were still kind of in the game in the third quarter.
Yeah, no doubt.
I think what lost the game was taking Sharman out and putting Jones in.
I tell you what, not even
that
great
made
call.
me want to vomit.
I think Sharman off was the
second time.
wrong call.
100% wrong call. And why does Philippou get 2 touches and gets to stay in the whole game, and you've got to take
Collard
and you've got to take Sharman out? I thought it was bad.
I agree with that.
coaching.
I really rate him as a footballer. Just on Collard, it's interesting. I wrote on the night, I wrote down, Collard did a couple of nice things off the ball. There's a couple of nice pressure acts, like some chasing, really putting the oppo under pressure, which I didn't mind. But I agree with you. If you're going to sub someone off, maybe it's going to be him. Philippou,
he kicked the goal.
I don't mind
junk
him.
time in the
I
fourth
just
corner.
can't justify him staying and Sharman leaving.
It's a hard one, isn't it? Because I like what Ross is doing, which is, if you're going to be a competitive midfielder for your AFL career, you've got to learn to play in the midfield. He's so young and he's such a light frame. This is invaluable experience, I think. But when the game's on the line, are we sort of keeping him in for that experience, or are we sort of saying, no, we're going to, pull on a different rein?
Yeah. I would have kept Sharman in too, just to crash the pack in the forward
To
line.
score.
But in saying that, without Higgins, I think we really missed him in the forward line.
Big time.
No one was crumbing.
100%. No one.
No one was getting, every single time it got brought
To ground.
a Freo player would pick it up straight back out.
I agree with you.
We missed a small forward. But I tell you what I did notice, so I'm flipping about in my mind right now.
No,
of
go,
things that
go.
are just bouncing around in there. I noticed they had Jimmy Webster a bit more in the midfield, and I rated it.
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah.
Because he,
I didn't
like
mind.
you said about Hunter Clark, Jimmy can be a
Bullish.
bull in a china shop.
Yeah, absolutely.
He will just go in. He's not going to care if, he's going head first, into something.
Well, like that collision with Frederick early in the first quarter. Yeah, absolutely. You're right. He brings that grunt, doesn't he?
Exactly. And he's got such an elite kick.
Yes.
Such an elite kick. It's not very, I know we decided in our group last year that the second half of last year, he was not having the greatest. That was probably the worst I've seen him play in his career.
Yeah.
And it was mediocre.
Yeah.
It wasn't.
He was
It wasn't
injured, though.
poor.
Was he coming off an injury?
I think so, because
Yeah.
I think he had his wrist injury.
He was
and
out for a
he has
while.
plates in there and they kept getting knocked. And
Oh, can you imagine?
I don't know.
No.
I agree. Jimmy's been such a warrior for our club. And it's interesting, with all the flack he copped against Simpkin, right? Because look, that was a dog act, don't get me wrong.
Been out of
defending the
character, but dog act.
but totally out of character. Yeah, he's been an absolute warrior. And so, to push him up into the midfield,
I rated it.
I like Sinks being pushed into the midfield as well because he's solid in terms of being able to get that outside ball. He's quick and is, I think, a good kick, being able to kick into the forward line as well. So
I like it. I don't think he likes it, though.
I don't think he does either. Yeah, I think you're
And
right.
that could potentially be an issue.
Well, and then this is right. So now that Paddy Dow's in the side, the magnets can sort of shift a little bit and maybe we find a bit more of our structure. And speaking of Paddy Dow, we should probably talk about some positives, but Is there any more
positive.
spleen venting?
That was my big one, was the Cooper substitution
Yeah.
and the marks inside 50.
I know we'll come back to we'll
Yeah.
circle
I
back.
had
I know,
two more points.
but go.
So the first one was just the amount of handballing
Oh my
and
God.
pressure.
Yep.
They get the ball. They look like they're going, shit, not me.
Yep.
Yeah.
Get rid of it straight into someone. Bang,
That's
ball
every
up,
game.
lose the contest. So that was really, every game. But, that pissed me off again this weekend. But
No.
the other thing I really noticed is the midfielders not reading Rowan's tap.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
Not reading it.
it's true. That might be why he's frustrated too.
Yeah, because me and my boss were talking about this today and he goes, Rowan just sort of, is tapping it. And I said, no, rewatching the game, he's tapping it to the open space and no one from
He's
St
running
was
onto
moving.
it. Yeah.
No one was moving except Freo.
Right.
And it's interesting you bring this up, Amber, because sitting next to got a lovely friend I sit next to at the footy. My wife sits next to me, my dad, but also this lovely we've sat next to each other since Dockland Stadium opened, right?
my gosh.
Literally since it's the sweetest. Anyway, said to each other, do you notice it's not just row, but it's modern ruck craft. It's a light tap rather than you'd think, rather than just to clear the ball from the anyway, I digress. I agree with you. Rowe was everywhere and was so dominant in the ruck, and how we weren't able to
Do
take that as an
anything.
advantage.
But how
use it as
good
an
were
advantage.
we when it was Paddy Ryder and Rowan?
Yeah.
And I feel
So
like
good.
Rowan really became the ruckman he is today because of Paddy.
Under
and-
Paddy,
100%.
yep.
he
But
did.
Paddy would tap it and, people would respond.
Yes. Yep.
Rowan's doing the same sort of thing with no response.
That's right.
It's sort of symptomatic, I think, of where we're at, is that we're so down on confidence as a side,
Yeah.
and that it's almost like it gives the instinct a hit. Do you know what I mean? Rather than to, play on instinct as
You're
well as
just like,
gameplay,
Is
it's
that
just,
it?
I don't want the ball because I'm scared to make a mistake.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the way that I'm reading it as a supporter.
I think
Yeah.
we have a lack of confidence, but I think also one of the problems is that this is one of the first seasons where this team is physically performing faster than they're thinking. So I think that their brain isn't catching up to where they're at the field and what they should be doing. So then they panic and then they get rid of it because, they don't expect to be in the 50 that soon.
Yeah.
True,
Or
yeah.
whatever it is.
Panicking, sort of really takes away from the gameplay,
Yeah.
doesn't it? It's a hard one. Let's talk about the positives,
Yeah.
shall we?
Yeah.
We will circle back, I know, but we mentioned Paddy Dow before.
Mm-hmm.
He had a fantastic debut, I thought.
He
Not
did.
to mention that sensational goal that he kicked in the first quarter was really great. But what do you guys think of his debut for the Red, White and Black?
I liked it.
I liked
liked
it
that he
too.
shed a little bit of blood his first.
It's good,
his
isn't it?
first game.
Good
It's
sign.
Good sign.
Really
yeah.
good sign. Yep.
And I liked the speed he brought to everything.
Yep.
It was a good dynamic. I actually, this is why I'm torn with this game because there are things that are very unfortunate about it and make you angry, but there's also things I did like that I saw. I loved to see Paddy Dow in the game. I loved to see Caminiti actually. I know it's people. I never thought I'd be like Caminiti, but here I am. People don't like that I like it, but whatever. I just think he had a good game. I think he's showing improvement from last season.
Yep.
I thought there was a moment where Darcy Wilson jetted out from the midfield and
Oh,
just
yeah.
came down the field with the ball.
Yeah.
And I don't like what he did with it, but still,
Do you know
at least he did that.
that
you
was
know?
right in front of me.
Oh,
He picked up the ball
I
off
loved
the
it.
ground like he had Velcro on
That's
his
right.
hands. It was just one swoop.
Yeah.
It was a beautiful thing.
Speaking of instinct, I think he has amazing
Doesn't
football
he?
instinct.
Yeah.
Doesn't he?
Actually,
Yeah.
and it's making a difference already.
It's just nice to watch every week, isn't it? To look at a player and be like, oh, bloody hell, we've got one here.
Yeah.
That's what
Yeah.
I've really noticed with Machito this week. Just watched one of his goals. There was a contest happening on the wing around the 50-metre mark. He had a player with him, and all of a sudden he just darts out knowing that the player who had the ball, I can't even remember who it was just going to just kick it long. And they weren't even communicating, but Machito just read.
Just knew.
He just knew. And I was like, that's the Machito from last year,
Yes.
reading
Yep.
the play
Yep.
and just knowing the spot to be. So I was like, yes, Machito,
Yeah.
you're getting your
Maybe
just-
we
you're just
need him in
reading
the
it.
forward,
Got his
more
mojo back.
forward than we've been playing. I mean, maybe he needs to be more forward.
It seemed like he got a bit of his mojo back
He
on the
did,
weekend,
he
and that
really
was good to
did.
see, wasn't it? Because you're right. That's what's so frustrating, right? Is that we seem to have all the gear and no idea. It's like, we've got, we're all there. We've got what we need. It seems, other than a couple of little
Maybe a crash in the midfield is it. It's kind of crazy because it looks like it's potentially a disaster, but it could also be a situation where we change one or two things
and it could just
and then
start
it just
clicking.
works.
But Crouch kicks goals too.
Yeah, he does.
That's what we need in the.
Crouch
We have no
kicks
midfielder
goals.
who's kicking goals right now.
And but coming back to what you said before, Amber, about getting the inside ball, I really think it starts there.
Yeah.
Win the contest.
I think we're a better
win a
team
clearance.
with Crouch in it. And I know him and Jack Steele are quite similar sort of players, but Crouch has got the run on him that Steele doesn't.
Agreed,
I
but
agree.
because they're similar players, I don't mind that they support each other.
Yeah.
then.
And they're similar, but they're not the same.
Exactly.
Because Crouch will
Yeah.
kick a goal.
Yeah.
Steele
you're
just
so
doesn't
right.
do that.
You're so right.
I feel like
Yeah.
Steele last season, I always like to call him the Lord and Saviour, our captain. I feel like he would kick
He had a
one
good
goal
year.
in like a make it or break it game.
Yeah, big captain's
I mean, he
goal.
got a lot
Yeah.
of Brownlow votes last season. People just he kind of went under the radar.
Yeah.
But the umpires who see nothing usually.
And he was also
thought that he
injured
was
as hell
great.
last year.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and he was
Yeah.
injured.
Well, apparently, I think I read somewhere on Facebook that he has had a sore knee the last few weeks.
Yeah,
too.
he's been taped up
Nursing
the
a
last
bit
couple
of,
of weeks.
bit of
Yeah.
a sore knee.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Hill has been great this
Mhm.
season. I feel like
Yep.
him and Rowan are probably, that's off the top of my head, I'll probably listen to this later and go, shit, I forgot to mention this person.
Would
But
be
they're my two top players that have played consistently good
Yes,
games,
I
no
agree.
matter how shit we've been
Here.
all
agree.
year.
that both of them will be neck and neck for our BNF.
Yeah.
At the
Yeah.
minute, absolutely. And I said a few weeks ago that Brad Hill, he's a maligned player by some people, but his impact would be noticed if he came out of our side. And I will die on that hill because, excuse the pun.
I think it's
Get
a
it?
lack of
See
football.
that? Die on that hill because Brad Hill and
I did not. I
Yeah,
didn't
terrible. It's funnier when you have to explain it.
I think it shows a little bit of football ignorance to just say that he wasn't a good player.
I agree with that, or that he wasn't serving us as a
That's
side.
right.
But Rowan Marshall has to be absolute front runner for all Australian ruckmen. His
Oh,
game
yeah.
on the weekend, he was in the first quarter. He had almost 15 touches himself. But I've got the stats
He
in
had
front of me
31 disposals, didn't he?
in
Yeah.
total.
And he was the highest disposal getter on the ground.
I'll double check that, but I think you're absolutely right.
He did.
Thank you.
31 touches. Yes,
Meters
no, you're
gained
absolutely
too.
right.
He was up there as meters
in
gained.
honor of Kat, who's not here today. I'll fact check. We love you, Kat.
I
And
checked
then
it last night and was like, oh my God, my babes, go Rowan.
39 hit outs as
Yeah.
well.
Wow.
Yeah, massive.
Luke Jackson,
Yeah.
I think, had the same amount.
Did he?
Yeah,
I think
I
so.
thought he
You're right.
played
He played a
amazing
very
against
good
Luke
game.
Jackson.
Yeah.
He did. But like in terms of putting the side on his shoulders and willing us forward, it was Rowe, and he was
Oh,
absolutely brilliant. So I mean, it's a shining light from the weekend, I suppose.
I
that we can
I
agree.
take
did
away.
actually notice, and this pains me to say, rewatching the replay, there was probably about 2 times that I thought, Rowan, you shouldn't have just dropped that on your foot and kicked it out.
He
He does
You
that
could
a
have
lot.
just handballed it.
Yeah, okay.
He
Not
does-
all, and
he
I'm not
does
going to
it a
knock him
lot.
on that, but I think sometimes he might just need to go. I think he just goes,
Get
get it
outta
out,
here.
bang.
Mm.
Sometimes I think if he just took the point half a second,
Yep.
and just handballed it,
Yep.
it would have been a much different out. It probably still would have been turned over in the forward 50.
Is it,
Oh, there's
no,
the
but
thing.
It might have been a smoother transition there.
is it
Maybe.
symptomatic of that panic style of play that we're playing at the minute?
I don't think so, because I feel like Rowan's one of the only players that doesn't appear to be playing that panic style. I
Yep.
think he's just like, get this out.
Mm.
Yeah,
Not in
yeah,
a panicked way. I don't know how to
yeah,
explain that.
we just need to move it. Just
Yeah,
move
Just
it at all
looking
costs.
for a
Yeah.
change.
Yeah.
Get the ball out of here.
Fair enough.
Yeah,
Totally fair
I
enough.
don't see. He doesn't appear to panic to me.
No.
I don't think he does
It's
either.
it's more of when we get close to that 50-meter
It's
line.
that kick inside 50,
Yeah,
isn't it?
it's the kick inside 50 is
That
always
absolutely
a rushed
kills us.
kick that we haven't thought at all about.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
And you know what I have not seen, or I think Machito did it in this game, but I haven't really seen it all season, is somebody coming out of the midfield, barreling down and just scoring a goal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I haven't seen it.
Yep.
I mean,
There-
Machito tried.
Oh, he did. And, on that, gosh, there was that moment where he burnt, I want to say it was Liam Henry and maybe two others.
Yeah.
On one hand, if he'd kicked the goal, I would have been like, take the responsibility. And on the
Right.
flip side, he didn't kick the goal. I'm like, what are you doing? Like,
No, I was okay with him trying.
yeah, fair.
You
Yeah.
know what?
Yep.
Nobody tries.
That's
so
Just do it.
Nobody tries.
it feels like no one's trying to go for the sting.
No, I get exactly where you're coming
Yeah.
from.
There was an instance in, I think, the second quarter. It was pretty much at the top of the square.
Mhm.
Philippou, literally put his hands back.
Yep.
I think Caminiti, fumbled it, and then someone else fumbled it, and we were
I know,
10,
right there.
we were centimetres away from someone just dropping it on their boot and kicking a
Yeah.
goal, and everyone just fumbled it.
and we
Yeah.
lost it.
And we lost it.
Yeah,
Didn't even get a
and
point.
Sinclair
Just turned
once-
over.
Yeah.
Sinclair once got it all the way down there and he had a shot at goal
Mm.
and he went to kind of quickly pass it and it went to nowhere's land
Mm.
and we lost the opportunity.
Yeah, it really is that kick inside 50 that just kills us. And,
Yeah.
I genuinely could not tell you the last time I saw one of our forwards make a nice, clear lead and have the midfield kick the ball into said lead.
I think Max did it
Max
once.
leaded a couple of I would say, I'd probably say
maybe a couple times.
3 or 4
I
times.
saw
He
it
had a
in
nice
this
clear
game.
lead and boom.
Yeah.
Well, then
Does that
I
tell
need
you
to go back and watch the replay because
Mace-
it's frustrating as hell.
is-
Mason
Yeah.
Wood, who usually I'm like, he to me is a game changer in St
Agreed.
Kilda, like a momentum
quiet.
shifter. He was
yeah.
quite quiet, and there was one instance you'll see it when you watch the replay.
Yep.
Max was leading for him, and he just didn't. He
Yeah,
burned
he
him.
didn't kick it.
just
Okay.
burnt.
Yep.
And Max he probably was on a 45-degree angle, maybe 40 meters out. So
Yep.
like,
No, that's very fair. Like I said, that's from my take watching at the ground. But yeah, I mean, at least the system is there that it's happening. But why aren't we doing it?
Yeah.
I don't know.
But I think that's where the
Does
panic
this-
sits.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the
yeah,
They're
yeah.
just like shit.
That's a really good call.
Yeah.
Yeah, really good call.
And I think maybe this just means that we needed just a bit more practice or experience this way.
In Kat's absence this week,
Mhm.
is it all right if I take the reins with Kat Goes Way?
Absolutely.
Go for it, girl.
So much fun. Strap yourselves in. Sorry, I was going to talk for a little while.
Mm-hmm.
Credit here to Code Footy on Facebook, where I read this compilation of what I already knew, but it goes into further detail to what I already knew, and I was almost sick. So here we go. This has got to do with our list development.
Okay.
And I know, look, our list
God.
development really right through those early 2000s, there was a lot of moving parts that really kicked our list development right between the legs. But there's just a couple of things I want to point out here with the caveat of, there's always going to be shoulda, woulda, couldas. There's always going to be ones that slip under the radar and blah, 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 blah. But I don't know. This here for me is evidence of a deeper problem because it's more than once.
Mm.
So here we go. In pick 2013, we had pick 3 and pick 18. And with those, we picked up Jack Billings and Luke Dunstan. Okay, now at the time, of course, Jack Billings looked like he was going to be an absolute superstar.
Mhm.
And Luke Dunstan looked like he was going to fill some of the needs that we needed to. However, the players that went missing, went wanting in that draft, we know Bontempelli,
Yeah.
Patrick Cripps at pick 13.
Yeah.
Yeah.
2014, okay, yes, Paddy McCartan at pick number 1, obviously. And at the time, Buddy had just been given the 9-year deal from Sydney. I really understand why we threw everything in the kitchen sink at a big full forward. I really do, or centre half forward. But then, and Hugh Goddard at pick 21, but then Christian Petrarca, this is just some of the names in that draft. Petrarca at 2, Angus Brayshaw at 3, Jordan De Goey at pick 5, Jake Lever pick 14, Tuke Miller, pick 29. Braden Maynard, pick 30. Caleb Daniel, pick 46. Ed Langdon, pick 54, just to name a few. 2015, we picked Gresh with pick 18 and Brandon White with pick 40. In that draft is pick 21 is Ben Mackay, pick 30 Mason Redman. Also some names in there later in the draft, Blake Hardwick, Jordan Dawson, Tom Papley, who's a rookie. 2016, where we draft Ben Long at pick 25 and Josh Battle at pick 39, which really was a steal for what Josh Battle brings to our side. get players like Shai Bolton, Sean Darcy, Tom Stewart at pick 40. Again, a whole lot of woulda, shoulda, couldas here. I'm very well aware of that. 2017, Hunter Clark, Nick Caulfield, Oscar Claverino, Ben Patton. Notable players available in that draft. Aaron Norton, Zach Bailey, Ed Richards, Oscar Allen, Sam Taylor, Bailey Fritsch, Tom McCartan, Brody Myercheck. Pick 18, we pick up Max King, Jack Bytel. We got Cal Wilkie as a rookie, so big wins there for us. But then, of course, you've got players like Rosie, Bailey Smith, Zach Butters, Bobby Hill, Connor, is it Eden? I can never know how to pronounce that fellow's surname from GWS, my bad. And James Rowbottom. Iden, yeah. And James Rowbottom, who's an absolute superstar from the Sydney Swans. So I know that's a really long-winded way, and I'm doing a lot of caveats because I know people come to me like, oh, you never know. But to go through so many years and to have missed out on so many players that have gone on not only to be good players, but superstar players, if we're going to be serious as a side and developing a side moving forward, I think a blowtorch needs to go on to who is doing our recruiting because, in my opinion, we have not had a really, really excellent draft crop. And by crop, I mean consecutive years where we've picked up a real spine of players since John Beveridge, who was he drafted players like Rui and Milne. He drafted even Robert Harvey back in the day. And I think that has really hurt us. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk.
Didn't we
we've
swap
got
out?
We
just changed the
we
draft.
got a new person.
Good.
Then our Sauce is that person.
Yes. Yeah.
But I read Mark Robinson's report that was, on the Herald Sun, I think maybe Friday.
Was that the one that's like, what's wrong with St Kilda?
It wasn't what's wrong with St Kilda. I think it wasn't called that. It was called something else. But that's the one.
Yeah.
But there was a good point in it of, we missed all of these. But these are the people that we also did pick up. So there was losses, but we did get the likes of Rowan. We did get the likes of
Tito.
Wilkie. There was I can't remember now what the list was, but there was a list. And I was like, okay, when you're actually comparing who we missed to who we got, you're like, okay, we did lose a lot. But I also believe too, how are they to know at that point in time?
You're right.
Paddy McCartan was going to have multiple head injuries.
Of course.
All of them had injuries.
Of course.
But also, is it our fault? Is it St Kilda's actual development? And that is what did them dirty.
And this is the thing. Would this is the thing, right?
Petrarca and Bontempelli been as good as what they were playing for St Kilda?
Are
It's a
you
great
only
question.
as good as the team that drafts you?
It's a very good question. And I suppose this is why I raise it. It is controversial. And you know what? I've had this sort of internal debate with myself all the time because you are totally right. Is it the side that makes the man or is it himself? I don't know. We've drafted some absolute winners. And you're so right. I suppose I'm frustrated from the weekend, to be honest. I'm frustrated that I look out on the park and I'm like, how the hell do we keep dishing up mediocre football? And I keep looking at where we're falling down.
Do you think we're being overmanaged? And we're not really letting the players be good at what they're good at because we're giving them too many directions?
That's a great question. And
that was going to be my black and white chat.
That's a very possible reality.
Yeah.
It's a very possible reality. Is it still Ross Lyon trying to implement his system?
We said this last week too, where it's not necessarily a bad thing from Ross, but the players have some of them, obviously not the newer ones, have had years of mediocreness.
Yeah,
mediocrity.
I'm going to stick with my word.
No, I like it. No, I was just going to say, I think mediocrity is a new segment is what I was going to say,
that, they need to now get themselves out of it because maybe, we're not seeing it,
right?
But maybe, it's now adjusting to a structured thing.
That could be it
as
too.
I want to add again, we're clearly not doing it right now.
Yeah.
But it's maybe like unlearning bad.
That's a big problem.
You're so right. Like unlearning is absolutely the right term. Like,
Might be why Jones was a bigger issue than he needed to be over the weekend as well, because he's from the old regime where, you know, if you played your position okay, it was more than enough.
Yeah.
Last year, we were decent.
Yeah.
We were decent. I stand by the fact that if we didn't lose memory before that thing, I reckon we would have won that GWS game.
Agreed.
But
Probably.
anyway.
Just because I know we're losing the games, but I don't think we're not decent.
No.
Yeah, that's a fair point. And I suppose if you look at the games that we have lost, especially early on in the season, we've touched on this before, but, you know, we've lost a lot of really close games. If those games go the other way, this is a whole different conversation,
That's right? Nobody would be saying anything about it.
No. And so I guess it's like, well, what's changed since last year to this year? Sure, there's been some injuries and some, you know, changing of the magnets and who's in, who's out, but there's something else. You know, what's going on? And
especially to see Rowan looking so
upset
from like
frustrated.
The best smile in the competition.
Yeah.
Like,
doesn't look like they're having fun.
No.
And that's why I wonder about the overmanagement.
That there's
I
too
wonder
much
a
going
little
on.
bit that there's too much direction, or that they're super uncomfortable with such a fast game style.
Well, this is
that,
right.
you know, and then in the emergency mode on the field ends up reverting back to how we've been doing.
We've cracked the code, ladies. They're being overmanaged, which makes them stressed, which makes them panic when they move the ball.
And they're not comfortable with fast football right now.
Well, there we go.
And maybe they're not a fast football
But I don't think we have a lot of speed to play the fast football. We don't have that much speed.
That's true.
I don't know. I think we've got some pretty fast players.
Darcy Wilson's fast.
Darcy's fast. Brett Hill's fast.
Yep.
I don't know.
I think I could beat Dougal in a running race.
Well, Dougal's
and I've got a dud ankle and I'm 5'1".
True, but he's also he's massive.
Yeah,
like trying to make a skyscraper run.
And he's not my favorite player, but he wasn't causing me.
Did you say Dougal's not your favorite player? That is a real change for RedWhite&BlackChat because so we're always one-way traffic.
Yeah, I have a difference of opinion here. But he wasn't our worst.
Yeah,
problem.
I didn't know Dougal. I didn't. Yeah, I agree.
He wasn't our worst problem.
No, to be honest, I think he did some all right things on the weekend in a side of players that didn't do a whole lot of all right things. But yeah, look, it's, you know, thank you for letting me air that because that's been going around and round in my head and I really need it.
Thing?
Yeah, I really, really needed the voices of wisdom to be like, shut up.
That's not what we said. We didn't say that.
No, but like, you're right. You're right. It's perspective, right? We've got the tools in which to build, and so we really need to start building because, you know, to keep on with this analogy, the house is falling down around us at the minute, and we're hanging on by a thread.
Not to make comparisons or say that we're in any shape or form like this team, but you know, I think it was in 2022 that Collingwood played terrible football, and I think they finished like 16th or something, and then they got the flag the next year.
Oh, don't worry. Okay, that's just going straight to my head. Look out! I'm not booking holidays in September next year.
Yes,
I'm just saying that
18 months.
It could change quickly, and actually, even this season, it kind of works in our favor that the entire season's been a mess. Like there is no clear leader of the 8. Maybe the Swans, but all the other teams are in one weekend, out the next weekend, and it's only 1-2 games that are separating a lot of these teams.
And look, I mean, you know, the season is not over yet, but we need to see a real shift in our form. And who knows? I mean, this week against the D's could be.
I mean,
but now D's have a point
they got beat by the Eagles.
It's
I don't know. You know what? Everyone has a point to prove when they play us.
Yeah,
it doesn't matter.
Literally.
Just be used to it.
All right. Well, then let's get stuck into previewing this week's match against the D's.
Okay.
We are playing them at their home deck at the G on Sunday afternoon at the blockbuster time slot of 3:20.
I like our Sunday.
I prefer 3:20 to 4:40.
Sundays are hard. I like to drink at the game. I have to work on Monday. And I know if I drink on a Sunday, I'm going to want to go to the precinct and party. No.
Oh, but you know.
Just go to work.
Ridiculous. Call the club. Be like, change it.
Yeah.
No Sunday games ever. So we do manage to play a side every week that's had some heat, right?
Yeah.
We played the Doggies when, you know, they were under the pump. had Freo this week when they had quite an emotional week, you know, and the
Hawks were
spotlight on
under
them.
the pump.
Hawthorn were under the pump. And now we've got the D's who
Mhm.
went down
Under
to
the pump.
the Wiggles yesterday.
I tipped West Coast.
Did you?
Yeah, I'm really bad at footy tipping.
So just
I'm
like
horrific at it, and I always
Me
try to
too.
pick one upset, and I
got it and you're like, oh,
You
got that one
could see it
good.
from a
after
mile away.
not getting it
tipped
for the last
North.
4 weeks.
I
Could
tipped
say
North
North
over
before.
Essendon and really thought at the halftime that I might have been right. And then I was
North
wrong.
over
Yeah.
Essendon. Oh,
I
poor
know.
North.
I know.
They just you know, pat up
The
the
only
hill
team
and
that
then
makes me feel good about being a
Oh,
Saints
literally.
supporter.
But I kept thinking, I'm like, is this what being a Kangaroo supporter feels like? And then I'm like, no.
No.
We've lost way more games than we have.
It's not that bad.
It's not that bad, not yet.
That's it. And you look at their
It sucks.
list. Look, they're going to be fine. I think they've
Yeah.
got some really fantastic young talent, but this is not about them. This is not Kangaroo Chat.
think-
How do we beat the D's on Sunday?
Okay, so I've made some notes on this.
Go.
And I said last week, sorry, I'm going to get my words out again, that I feel like what we need is a bit of continuity with players and not just swapping people in and out to see if,
Yep.
you know, a couple of weeks playing the same team,
Yep.
we'll just get a bit of gelling,
Flow.
a bit of flow.
I
Anywho,
agree.
these are my changes.
Here we go,
This
list
is
manager.
a list that I've made.
Here we go.
Mhm.
Higgins straight back in for Collard.
Has
Yep.
to be. Yep.
Stocker or Clark in for Riley Bonner. I'm sorry.
Fine. I
Adios.
think that's fair.
I said
Oh.
it and I kind of retracted a little bit last week. You guys kind of swung me over the line with Bonner, but I've long jumped my way back to where I was.
Slingshot.
rest.
You're in
Yeah.
a different
He can rest.
state.
Hop, skip, jumped all the way over there.
yeah.
Oh yeah.
No offense, sorry,
Look,
but like soz.
that wasn't in our vent, but
I'm not
holy,
totally on the Bonner train.
I was run over by the Bonner train
Yeah.
on Saturday night when he
Yeah.
kicked it and missed Brad Hill at a 15-metre kick.
Yeah.
I'm in with that.
Yep.
Liam Stocker, who was in the social club room
Was.
I yelled to him
before the game.
I was like,
He was great to listen
Yeah.
to him and Ari.
Yes.
And yeah, I think he should come straight back in. He's got some of that grunt.
and
Uh-huh.
That we
he's
miss.
faster.
yes.
Not
Yes.
fastest, but he's faster.
Yes.
Yes.
I agree with that.
Okay, so I
Okay.
also have Cordy
And Duke to
or
cuddle in the back line.
Membry, maybe in for Sharman. And this one was a maybe. This was my maybe.
Mm.
And I want, and I've been saying it, I want Cordy in the forward line for
Yeah.
a
I'd be
big
okay with
defensive
that.
forward that can also
Yeah.
kick goals.
You have
Yeah.
been saying that for a while.
I have been saying
I agree
that,
with
and I
that.
stand with that.
Yep.
Crouch in for Philippou or Patton.
I think Patton is
think-
not is
I think
he's sort of in
Patton
the
should-
Zach,
was-
Zach Jones territory, which
Yeah.
is not up to AFL
Patton
standards.
Had a terrible
Okay, this-
game, let's be honest.
Yeah.
This was also a maybe. This
Yeah.
was a maybe. This was, I'm not fussed if this doesn't happen. Well, ultimately, I can't be fussed if Ross isn't going to take my advice.
So far, I think
I
you're
said
doing well.
maybe.
I love the hand. Sorry,
Camera.
the handwritten. I'm loving it. Just because, no, I'm loving it. And for those
I'm a
watching along,
handwriter.
it's no, I love it. It's a handwritten, a photo of a handwritten. My favorite is the scribble. What you've
I have
scribbled
no
out.
whiteout at home.
No, I love it because you've obviously been like, no.
Yeah, I was like, so Camera out, Hayes
No.
in. And that was a maybe.
No.
That was one I was sort of
No.
like, with Stephen May and Lever,
Yes.
just having them two, I reckon Camera will just get absolutely
Disagree.
schooled. But
One
if
of 'em.
I disagree.
if Membry's
Oof, yep.
in, I don't think Hayes needs to be in.
I agree with that.
Mhm.
This was my only specific for Melbourne.
Mm.
Yep. I tend to agree with you, Amber. Sorry.
No,
Anna,
that's fine.
sorry.
That's fine. No one's on the Caminiti train.
You're wrong.
It's fine. We'll
I-
see. We'll see what happens.
Yeah.
we'll
It's
see,
not-
we'll see.
I can't see it even happening, but
It's-
it was
yeah.
just my thoughts with Lever and May.
It's
Just a bigger, stronger body that are probably he will hold himself better than what Camera will.
I agree with that. It's less
And
about Caminiti. It's
exactly
more about May
them.
and
The
Lever because
size.
they
Yeah.
are an unbelievably
Hey.
strong defensive duo. And yeah, I would like to see if it needs to be Max, but then it needs to my second in line would be Membry before then Hayes and then Caminiti.
Yep.
No shade Caminiti, but yeah,
You summed that up perfectly.
I don't
that
know
I
if
couldn't.
Hayes-
It's not about Caminiti.
yeah,
It's about
That's
Steve.
about
size.
Yeah. And then I had
Mm.
Garcia as our medi sub because
Yep.
he tackles,
yes.
Yeah.
he runs.
He's
Yes.
good.
But I think he's better off as fresh legs.
I agree
At this
with that.
point in time,
Yeah, I agree with
I
that.
think he's better off as fresh legs.
Would you play
And could be the
Burns?
difference.
I love Ronnie. Oh my God, I forgot about him.
Would you play Burns instead of
Yes. Now that you've asked me that,
instead
yes.
of Bonner.
No,
Instead of Patton.
Patton. Yes.
Oh, yeah.
I would play him over Patton.
I'd play him over Patton too.
I love Ronnie as well.
Mhm.
He let us down so badly a couple of weeks ago.
Mm.
Was it against the Dogs when his disposal was just
It was
putrid,
good.
and I'm just like, why you do this?
Well,
Like,
maybe he
like,
just
we
had a
love
bad
that,
you.
and I'm not excusing that. The games earlier than that, I remember watching the replays
Yep.
and thinking, wow, he was actually,
shows
he was a shifter.
good stuff.
He was
Yeah.
a momentum shifter.
You're
with
not
his
wrong about
leg
that.
and kick. So I think everyone played extremely, disgustingly woeful. Sorry,
Against the
not
Dogs?
sorry, against the Dogs.
You're
That
right.
is the second game in my life that I have left early. And
Yeah,
the one before
yeah.
that was the one against them 2 years ago.
Yeah, we got
I was
belted
When we
there
as well.
for
got
that
belted,
one.
I was like, I'm out.
Yeah,
I was
fair,
there for that
fair.
one, and every time we play the Dogs, I have flashbacks of
Yeah.
that game.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's
Scary.
very fair. Like
I
he's
do.
Ronnie's another one of those players that if you're at the ground, it's worthwhile watching him when he doesn't
Mhm.
have the ball because no,
Mhm.
you're right. He's a good defensive player,
Mhm.
as well as traditionally a good user. Yeah, I would like to see. I agree with all of those. List manager,
Thank you.
especially Stocker in for Bonner.
Yeah.
We need.
I don't
He's
know
got
why
that
we didn't
speed
do
and
that
the
in this
grunt
game.
that Bonner does not have.
I don't know why
Jeez, no.
Stocker didn't play against Freo. I was confused by
Stocker,
that.
even
It's
last
fascinating,
year,
isn't
he
it?
was the first to get dropped. And I really love Hunter Clark, but there was games where I'm like, where Stocker would get dropped by Hunter Clark, but Stocker had a really good game the week before.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So I'm like, why does he keep
I
being the
don't
one
know.
and especially, as I said before, I love Jimmy, but I feel like in the back end of last season,
Yep.
I would have had Jimmy dropped before Stocker.
Yeah,
and that's
no
a
doubt.
big call because I love Jimmy.
No, it's same here.
Mhm.
I love Jimmy too, but no, I'm not sure what that was
I
about.
don't know
I
what that is.
went down to training on the
The
Tuesday.
final.
He didn't even train.
Oh, really?
Oh,
No, he was in a
Really?
hoodie and was out there, but didn't train.
Is
was
he
out
on
there
the
in a
injury
hoodie.
list?
Maybe
He wasn't.
No, but that doesn't mean that he's not feeling a little something that nobody wants to talk about.
Yeah, true.
Maybe he was just like, I need a week.
I'm sick because
Yeah.
we're losing.
Yeah.
That's please don't put me
That'd
in.
me. I'd be like, oh, my knee, I can't play this
I
week.
can't do
Against
it.
Melbourne.
He's
Sorry.
fine. He did well with the questions on the weekend.
He did. That's it. Well, yeah. Obviously, it wasn't a head knock. So.
no, it wasn't a head knock.
In terms of beating the Ds, though, I think, yes, it's being able to nullify the impact that May and Lever have. I must say I am terrified about how we like to bomb it into the forward line
Oh, yeah.
because May and Lever will eat
They
us up.
will.
Is he on the
They
injury
will.
list?
No, but just looking at it, sorry. Dan Butler, as of Tuesday the 14th, was 1 week away. It is now Monday the 20th. I think he will
VFL.
bring some
He's-
pizzazz to the forward line too.
He's going
with
to the VFL.
his forward pressure. Even if he doesn't kick a goal, his forward pressure is unmatched.
I agree with that. People really come down hard on Dan Butler.
But they're looking at him to kick goals. They're not
Exactly.
looking at the
Yep.
big picture of what he has done
and what? Yeah,
in
agreed.
the forward line. This is what annoys me about some St Kilda supporters that I
Yep.
see online commenting. I'm like, you're looking at this
When you
much
need to-
when you need to. And that's why I always say too, like going back, you know, what you see on TV is not what you were seeing at the ground.
No
And
doubt.
obviously, I miss so much being at the ground and watching it.
Yeah, but
I don't see a lot of things, but a lot of the things that happen in the forward line
Mhm.
and stuff, specifically where we are,
yes.
we see what's happening behind the play
Yes.
that you're not getting on TV.
Couldn't agree more. And that's, look what happened on the weekend with our inability to crumb without Higo and that sort of thing. Put Dan Butler in that forward line. That's arguably a different story.
Yep.
I agree.
Yeah.
But I
Imagine
think
Dan
Ross is going to
Butler,
put him in the
Higgins,
VFL.
and Henry.
Ooh.
Paddy Dow coming in from the midfield,
Hello.
Crouch.
Hello.
Ooh,
Ooh, okay.
We're going to win.
We're back. We're back. There's going to be 18 changes.
Watch Ross not change the team.
No, I think he will. But
He'll
I
drop
think he's going to.
Steely.
But
I
Bring
think
it
he's
back.
going to make Dan Butler play the twos for a
yeah,
bit.
100%.
Yeah, I think
It's
you're
gonna be
right.
a
You're right
second.
about that. But I think Higgins has to come straight back in, and
Yeah,
I
he
think
has
that he
to.
will.
And I think he's
That's
been
obvious.
very, very missed in it.
Big
and
time.
I do think Henry, they had Henry playing a bit more in the midfield. I don't like that. We needed him to be the small forward.
No doubt. On the weekend we did.
He didn't play a bad game, but we needed him to be the small forward
That we were missing.
that
so
we
bad.
were missing.
Yeah, you're 100%
because
right.
we basically had Machito, Max and Hammer in the forward line.
Yeah. Right.
Everyone else was sort of playing that midfieldy sort of
It wasn't gelling. It wasn't clicking.
No, it
role. We
wasn't
needed
clicking.
dedicated small forwards
100%.
to help us out, but also our midfield wasn't doing much, so whatever.
I think we need to really put more effort into running the ball down the middle of the
Yep.
field.
That's it. The midfield,
The
their
guts.
midfield is absolutely
Use the guts, get tackled.
Yeah,
elite,
Who
yeah.
cares?
I hate that kicking over the front of the defensive.
It's so
I hate it, that
boring.
back forth. When they think they're going to do a switch and then they're like, no,
Right.
they're too set up, and then they kick it down the line
Yep.
into the pack. But also, in saying that, noticing that on the weekend, no one was leading for it
No.
either to try and get a mark, whether it was on the wing,
Yep.
down the middle.
Do you know what's weird about that? You know what's happening in the game. The opposing team knows what's happening in
Yeah.
the game, and the Saints players don't have a clue.
Yeah.
How is it possible that
That-
everyone is reading the same book
except them.
except them?
Yeah, it feels that
I
way,
don't
doesn't
get
it?
it.
It does feel that way. And and that's I think going to be the difference on the weekend is like I am comfortable with us taking the game on
Me too.
and to, try and use the corridor,
Yep.
make leads, try and hit them. Even if we don't, I'd much rather
I
lose
wanna
that
see
way
it.
than lose the way
Yeah,
that we
I
lost
just
on the
want to
weekend.
see it. I want to see us play.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Play like we've been in a closet.
Not just
like,
chip it around
Yeah, that's
and
right.
pull it
Playing in the
around.
That's
closet.
right. And quite frankly, I think the D's would come into this match seeing us as a side that they can gang up on,
Yep.
that they can bully,
Yep.
and is an easy walkover. I want us to go in with that mentality of like, well, you can't go over us, can't go under us, you have to go through us. And we should really bring that
I'd
heat and that
love
tackling
if we
energy on the
did
weekend.
that.
And I think I really
don't know.
hope,
Mm.
again, this me probably being a bit delusional,
No.
if Crouch is in and Higgins are in, I think they're
Lifts.
momentum shifters.
I agree.
Because Crouch doesn't stop.
No.
Crouch doesn't give up. And I think that's the momentum that we sort of need
Yeah.
sometimes.
Leadership, maybe.
That leadership, and I'm not saying Jack Steele's a bad leader, but
No.
you even see in the back line, Wilkie is so vocal about
Yep.
what he
Mhm.
wants.
Yep.
He is clearly the leader in our back line.
No doubt.
Yes.
We don't really have Membry is usually not too bad in the forward line. Haven't seen it much this year, but he's usually quite, vocal about
Directing traffic.
directing traffic. But there's what it appears, that's probably a better way to put it. It appears that no one's doing that in the forward line. They're all
Yeah.
just trying to do that. Steele, I think, sorry, Wet Steele.
Wet Steely.
With Steely. I think he needs to, I know he's probably more of a captain that is lead by example.
Yeah.
But I think he needs to go, you, do this, do this. Like, actually just
Does
sort of
he
like
know what to
speak
do?
to each other and just
Or he
get a
needs
bit of like,
support. He just needs
Yeah.
support. Yeah, like it's no shade if he's not that sort of leader. That's fine. But yeah, he needs someone else.
Mhm.
Like, or
There's
not just
no
one
one
person.
stepping up in
That's
the middle.
right. That's right.
Really
like,
not.
like support the bloke.
Yeah.
For
and you
God's
can
sake.
see, you could see in clips on the weekend too, back to like our defense, because I don't think, I know Dukes doesn't always have the best games, but our problem is not with our defense.
No.
No.
Our like,
No,
Agreed.
back
I
line
agree
is
with that.
fine.
and I tell you what, there was a few bits where, it was protecting the ground, not the player.
Yep.
And Naz was like cracking it that he was trying to protect the ground between two players,
Yes.
but no one else was there to
Yep. I
And
agree.
it wasn't at the other backs,
No.
but like they're very vocal with each other when
Mhm.
one of them does something that when they needed help or, they're lacking, they tell each other. And you can see that on TV. You don't see that anywhere else on the ground.
Couldn't agree
Mm-mm.
more. And you can really see there were times against Freo where, Freo were forced to chip the ball around a bit because they were trying to find a way through. That's fine. They could do that all night. But yeah, you're right. It's that disconnect between the midfield and the forward line,
Yep.
which is where we need to really pick up our socks. And I think that's how we get it done on the
And I'm
weekend.
not going to blame one position. I think it's both.
Yes.
Yeah, it's both.
Yes.
It is
Forwards
both.
aren't leading, but
Also,
midfield's not
midfield's
doing
not
a good job
connecting.
of
They're not
delivering it.
connecting.
Yeah,
Exactly.
They're
delivering the
even
ball.
as one of his first kicks was just on the full out. It was
Naz,
so
what are
far
you
from
doing?
me.
What are
I
you
was
doing?
like, what's happening?
Stop.
Oh, yeah, I did see that one.
Oh, that was so bad. I was like, oh, here we go. It's
Well-
so bad when you see one error and you're like,
Ugh.
yeah, here we go.
Long night.
It's just going to be
Well,
same.
Do you know, in recent history as well, we've liked playing on the G. We beat Collingwood at the G earlier
Yep.
this
Yeah.
year. We had a good win against Essendon at the G last year, and
We
I'm pretty
did.
sure those are the last two
That was our
occasions that we've
150th.
played at the G. So,
GWS.
of course,
We
the
we
final.
usually
but
play
yeah.
a game against
didn't play a
Melbourne
bad
at
game.
the G every
Yeah.
year.
That's
Yeah.
true.
And I feel like we usually play a decent game.
I agree with that.
I think
yeah.
it's usually pretty 50, like you go in and it's pretty 50-50 no matter how good Melbourne's doing.
Yeah.
I feel like it's a decent game.
Do we get it done on the weekend? I'm not sure. I'm not confident in saying that we're going to win the match. I would just like to see an improvement
change.
in our gameplay. I'd like to see
I agree with you.
come out at the end of the match and say, I could actually see and tell you what our system was from having watched that match. I could actually see what our plan was. I could actually see what we were aiming for.
Right. To feel like they're trying something solid.
Yep,
A
that's
good
it.
go.
Yeah, have a go.
Go.
A+ for effort.
Like those
Yeah.
stickers you used to
We
get
want
at
a
school.
C for, I'll be happy with a C.
Yeah.
C for gameplay.
Yeah.
But if there's an A+ for effort,
And
you've
you
got
know
my
what?
gold
I
star.
don't care how many goals we miss. Just kick the freaking ball to
Yeah,
sticks.
that's it.
enough.
Have a go. Because
Just
some of them might go
keep
through.
Yeah, some
Yeah,
of
but
them
also
might.
don't let it dampen you. Don't let it ruin your confidence if
Yeah,
you
don't let
kick
it ruin your day.
But if they're like running and kicking it, like kicking it on the run, not from a mark, like a set shot,
Yep.
I don't care.
Yeah.
Unless it's a selfish, they could have passed it off. I don't care.
I
Yeah,
don't
no, I
care
agree with you with
either.
that. Have a go.
Yeah.
Have a go.
If you're running inside 50 and you are a professional footballer, you should be having a go.
But that's one of the reasons why Higgins scores so often is because he's just like, I'm
He
just
just
gonna
drops it
kick
in
it.
his boot.
Yeah.
And in the GWS, it was either GWS or Richmond.
He played against
Game?
Richmond.
He played, I think he played both of them. There was one goal, he marked it like on the line,
Mm-hmm.
and you see him go back and he just goes bang. He didn't even think about it and
Yeah,
he got
straight
it.
away.
And I was like, that's what I think sometimes they need to
Yeah.
do.
Yep.
I think sometimes they just
100%.
have too long of the run up, too long to sit and go, oh, fuck. Or not sit, obviously, but like
Too much
think,
thinking.
And they go, yep, got to kick this,
Yep.
butcher it. It's no, just
go back.
fucking boot it.
Play on
Yeah.
instinct. Go back and just do what you can
Yeah.
do.
Yeah.
What you know you can do.
It makes me feel like it's a little bit too much management.
That's a really good call
Yeah.
because, so much of the game is above the shoulders. So much of it. And players over history have said it so often with goal kicking woes and with all different sorts of things.
It's between the eyes, not the skill.
100%. And if you can get on top of that, then I think you're laughing. Tips for Sunday.
Put Crouch in.
Put Crouch in. Crouch goes
That's
in.
it. I'll give you a tip. That's my tip.
Yep.
Just use the corridor.
Nice. Winner and margin?
If that's what you meant by tip. I was wondering if that's what you meant by tip.
Yeah.
It's just hard because I don't feel super confident.
Neither do I.
Either.
5-point margin either way.
Okay. Nice.
Yeah,
I'd be happy with that. to
I
be honest.
reckon, yeah.
Yeah.
I'll say, okay, to be different, no more than 10 each way.
Nice.
No more than 10 points each way.
Nice. And
Hopefully 100 with St Kilda winning.
yeah,
but
that's a 100-point win to us.
Let's just not have a slaughter.
Yeah, look,
Yeah.
I'm going to say it's going to be close and Max will kick 3.
Yeah, my nephew keeps saying, Max
It's
is going to
coming,
kick 10.
it's
And I'm
coming.
like, stop it.
I
No,
think
he's not.
he's still adjusting to his new role. And
Yeah.
I think it's going to take time for that to mesh with his goal efficiency.
Well, let's hope the meshing happens
Yeah,
on
let's
Sunday
hope.
afternoon at 3:20 at Yarra Park.
Yeah.
Just briefly before we wrap up,
Mhm.
the Zebs had a massive win on
I
Sunday
saw
over
that.
Richmond.
Yeah,
This
didn't
is-
watch but saw it.
No, I didn't watch either. That's Soz's territory. She's of course overseas, but a big win. And so I'm actually going to go back and watch the replay because I think there was a really good showing from a lot of that second tier player like Maddie Allison.
I was going to say Maddie Allison. And if it wasn't Melbourne, I think he might play the next game.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, I
Well,
think he had a really good,
have we got
strong
North the
showing.
following? No, we've played
No,
North.
we play Eagles, I think.
We've
That's
got
right.
the Suns the week after.
Oh,
That's
the
right.
Suns. Okay.
Well,
then the-
potentially could be a showing for that match. But
Yeah.
just before we wrap it up, the ones that got away,
Uh-huh.
just our banging theme tune that's like the ones that got away.
Mhm.
Recent players who got away, Jack Billings and Luke Dunstan, who have made the trip over to Melbourne.
Correct.
I really wish Jack Billings very well. Do you know what I mean? I
Me
think
too.
I really feel for him. He's just
He didn't have a
Injury
place.
prone.
injury
Yeah,
prone
and-
and never really reached the heights that he was meant to.
Expected to.
And I
agree.
really feel for that for any player, to be honest.
Mhm.
And then Dean Kent, remember when Dean Kent came over?
Oh,
Yeah.
yes.
Wait, is he still playing footy?
No, I think he just
well,
plays local.
Yeah,
Yeah.
local, not for us.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a kind of lean
He was,
time.
he did some all right.
I would describe him.
Sorry.
I would
Sorry.
describe him as serviceable.
Yeah, serviceable. Love that word.
Yeah,
Serviceable.
like he was.
He had some games where I was
fine.
like, okay, if you play like this every week,
Yep.
you've got a spot, and then the next week wouldn't, and then the next week you play good again.
You'd be
And I'm like, you're confusing me.
Stop it. Do you remember Chip Frawley? He started his career at Melbourne.
Did he?
James
I don't
Frawley,
remember.
and then went to Hawthorn, and then came to us.
I didn't know he started at
Yeah,
Melbourne.
yeah.
Well, there you go.
And the other one, and this is a real throwback, one of my actual favourite Sainers of all time, 3-club player, Stephen Powell. Does that ring a bell?
played for
you
yeah,
guys Powley?
yeah.
Yeah, he started with the
I
D's.
don't remember a lot of him playing because
Mm.
I think he might have left in 2003 or 4.
It was early
or
because
something.
he played for the D's and the Dogs.
We've got a
and us.
poster of him up at my like a picture, and he's in
Yes.
it. And I think it was the 2004, but I
Love it.
was like in year 3 then, so I don't really remember too much. I was just a little child.
Feel old. What's that, 2004? No, I was in year 8.
Yeah, I was
in
year 3.
Nice.
That's not too. That's
No,
not
it's all
too
right.
bad, Yeah,
I was just not here.
that's just in America.
I didn't even know this sport existed.
And you know what? You're probably happier for it at times. But that's-
literally.
More dedicated than
Yeah.
the average supporter.
Well, look, it was a tough one to show up for again this week, but, we do. That's what we do as Sainers. We show up every week. We're urging all the Sainers to show up to the G on Sunday afternoon.
If you
Sunday
want the
afternoon.
team to change, then you have to show up. That's my feeling. You
I
can't
like that.
say that you're a supporter
No, you've
and
gotta
then
rock
not
up.
be different. You know what? Be different. Go to the game. Don't go to watch. Go to cheer them on.
Love that.
Yep.
And just enjoy football. Like,
Well,
it's
one
okay.
thing I really
I like
noticed,
that.
Sorry, before we wrap up,
It's a positive note.
was every time Max took a mark, went near it,
Crowd.
Wow.
the crowd
Yep.
Yeah,
was
there's a lot
frothing
of
him.
clap.
And
Oh, yeah.
I feel like
Yeah.
that probably would have been good for him too, going,
No
yeah,
doubt.
yeah. Like, they're
Sure.
getting
That's it,
behind
getting
me.
around me. And this is the thing, like, I don't know about you guys, but it doesn't matter. When I wake up on game day morning, I'm like, let's go. Like, I
Yeah.
get
Me
pumped
too.
up, getting into the ground. It's exciting. You cheer on the boys. It's almost like you forget for a little while. So, yeah, like, get down on Sunday afternoon.
Yeah, the
Get
word
to the G.
support means something.
That's very true. That is very true.
Oh, wait, sorry, this just popped into my head. Anna
yeah.
took her sage
I did.
to the ground last
I
week.
did, and
did.
I burnt it.
I love
burnt
that
it
you
during
got
the
it
smoke
in.
ceremony. Didn't do shit, but I tried.
Look, and this is, again, we all
I
support in our different ways. And I cannot believe you got a stick of sage in and were able to burn it
I did.
at the time. I love it.
Well, thanks. I tried.
I
I gotta
just
think of
remembered.
some,
I love it.
some
You
more
told me.
ideas of how to reverse.
Anna
The
told
curse.
me at platform after the game because we had a drink. We weren't
We
being
did.
sad.
I love
We
it.
did go to the precinct
We
after,
did.
but she told me, she said, I burnt the sage.
Yeah, that's
I
good.
did.
You got to, these are the things you've got to do, right?
Yeah.
In
Gotta
desperate
do
times.
something.
I love it. Well, keep an eye on the Sainted Love socials, actually, because I believe there's a bit of hype happening around aisle 29, collaborating with, not collaborating, but getting around the cheer squad on Sunday. So that could be a really, like, if you haven't sat, this is for the people out there, if you haven't sat amongst the cheer squad on aisle 29, my God, vibes are high. So
Yep.
even
Yeah.
if it is not a good time on Sunday afternoon,
It
Bugs
will
me
be.
out.
a
you
good
are
time.
guaranteed to have a good time with
You're
aisle
supposed
29.
to be there, win or lose.
Mainly lose, but that's
You're there.
Yeah, 100%. So keep an eye on the Sainted Love and the aisle 29 socials because I think there's going to be some more information about
Yep.
that.
That's
So
exciting.
that's just a
Be
call
good
out to the
times.
people to do that. But Anna and Emma, thank you for coming and being a part of Red,
Thank
White and
you
Black
for
Chat
having
again.
us.
You guys are more than welcome.
It's so nice. It's just a nice therapy.
Isn't it? I feel
is.
better. Do you feel better?
I actually
Yeah.
do.
Yeah, I feel great.
And I like that you could get into positives at the end. Like,
good, isn't
Yeah,
it?
I was going to say, I really noticed that this week.
Yeah.
We
We
found the
moved on.
positives out of a bad situation.
It's all silver lining stuff, isn't it? We
Yeah.
have to. St Kilda
Yeah.
supporters, that's who we are. Well, thank you everybody for listening and tuning in. We will be back next week, hopefully talking about our 100-point victory over the D's.
Yep.
or
and-
5.
Yeah, look at all
5,
5. We'll take 5.
We'll just take any one.
Well, one, as long as we're in front of the final siren.
Yeah.
So let's hope so. All right,
Fingers crossed.
we'll see you guys next week.
Yeah.
Okay, bye.
Bye.